Good morning, good evening, good night. I am so grateful to have you back here for session 11. Can you believe it? Oh my goodness, people who have been joining in the whole way through the show, we're in session 11. Oh my gosh. But people who haven't been joining in, we're going to let you know a little bit more about what EE Conquest is, what the mission is, and all about that after our introduction. So I just had my third change of the day. I feel a bit like Beyonce. I'm changing my tops throughout the 12 hours and I'm just to keep myself all ready. So I think we're on session 11 of EE Conquest. Like I said, if you have been joining in, fantastic throughout the whole day of learning. If it's your first time joining in or if you're catching up on the recordings, just going to let you know a little bit about what's going on as part of EE Conquest. So EE Conquest is a 12-hour day of learning with educators from all across the globe with a mission to try and ignite the fires of people in our communities as well as reaching across the world as well. So it's been really great to have all the learning that's happened so far. And you can catch up on all the sessions that have happened at bit.ly/EE Conquest 2021. Or you can take part in we've got a practical guide that you can take away. You can print it out or you can look at the digital version. And it's got little missions to complete that you can share with our community and just create little connections across the board. So that's bit.ly/EE Conquest guide. And one of the big missions that we have as part of this is talking about mental health and keeping ourselves mentally healthy. And so this is a completely free event, but we're trying to donate money for a really great cause, Youthline in New Zealand. And so we'd really appreciate if you can donate, even if it's $1 and we have 100 people that's coming across the day, that's still $100 that we can share across the board. Or even if you can't donate, then that's no problem at all. Sharing with your community is really, really useful so that we can spread that word too. So bit.ly/EE Youthline. Without further ado, let's get our guests on the show, which is really exciting. I got another Wellbeing. So the Wellbeing show that was on before really helped me with my Wellbeing because it was a quarter of the way through. So now we're nearly 3/4 of the way through. So I'm really looking forward to some Wellbeing tips and things like that with you both. So yeah, welcome.
Hi.
Really, really welcome. Coming on. So like I said, we've got our missions to complete from our show. So I've got my little fire coming up, and it shows what fuels my mission and what ignites my passion for my character and from my fire. So yeah, what fuels you? And tell us a little bit more about yourselves as well as you're sharing about what fuels you. So yeah, Ashley, do you want to go first?
First of all, thanks so much for having me here. I think it's just this amazing event that you've created. It's just fantastic, and it's all free and for so many people. So you are the fire of education. The thing just now is, what is at the heart of education. So thank you. But I suppose what ignites my fire and passion is just improving well-being and mental health education for all, not just students, not just parents, not just teachers, for everybody involved. And it kind of comes from struggles that I've had of my own, and then the things that I've done to improve my mental health. And I just thought, why is there not more of this in education? So that's where my fiery passion comes from.
Love it. So relatable. Yeah, from my personal experience too. Yeah. And Laura, a little bit about you.
Hi everyone, I'm Laura. I'm a senior school maths leader, so I'm assistant head of maths at the moment in an international school out here, and I write a blog called Educating Lobsters, which I'll tell you a bit about a little bit later. But so my main fuels, my main passions, I think it just always comes down to people. And I think over the last couple of years, I've really just started to just really care about my own self-awareness, about how I'm doing, my own mental health, but also trying to really model that kind of openness and that vulnerability. And my fire, I made my fire really well handled.
Beautiful.
So I've got in it like people, connections. My other stuff is like some of the stuff I'm going to talk about a little bit later are some of the habits that I think really fuel me and refire me back up when I've exerted all my energy in school. So I've got stuff like silly time, quiet time, some really simple stuff like reading, learning. I've got like being really silly and related to animals, which really links to my blog as well. So yeah, just mainly people, I think, is my big fire that spurs me on. And I think that's the same for a lot of teachers as well. So
Beautiful. I think, like you say, is like being aware of our own selves as teachers. And I think sometimes we can say self-care, 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 but actually what systems are in place to like allow that self-care to happen? How are we like taking a step back to actually look after ourselves and be aware of what we're doing? But I'd like you say being vulnerable and sharing that with other people so then they feel okay to feel those feelings. Like, and that's for the learners, but also for our peers and for our colleagues. It's okay to have that. And that's why I wrote a blog post the other week about like me feeling the different phases of Harry Potter. I was in chapter 4 and you were like, yes, I feel chapter 4. Like it's feeling a bit dark at the minute, it's feeling a bit dingy, but like then the more we share those, it's more accepting of like those different strategies too. So yeah, really really good things. And so yes, I think we'll go to the first question. I'll tell the audience a bit about your Mindful Miss Green project and what you hope the audience gets away from it too. So yeah, what's that all about, Ashley?
Okay, is it all right if I share my screen? Just
Yeah,
I've
no
got
problem.
some slides that I wanted to just keep me on track.
Yeah, no problem. If you want to share, and then I'll put it up on the screen.
Can you see it now?
It should be coming through in the bottom. Not there yet. Oh, our first little hiccup of the day, but we'll get through it. We'll be fine. If you just press the bottom, share. Yeah, perfect.
Is that it now?
Yeah, she's on there.
Okay, so there's my
Beautiful.
human flame. So I did have like kind of 5 minutes prepared for a little activity for the audience, but I'll maybe come back to that at the end if there's time.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. So this is a really small homemade slide about what Mindful Miss Green Wellbeing is and how it came to be. So Mindful Miss Green started as this website up here in the top left. It was just a really simple website because I wanted to have a place that educators could go to access free wellbeing content. Because when I was looking for things to share in school or with my class, it was just things that I was starting to make up on my own. And of course, there were some PSHE programs out there. There were some things on YouTube, but I couldn't really find a place that catered for as many things as I was looking for. So that's where it all started, really, on this website. Now there's kind of blog posts that teachers can read and hopefully find some relatability there, but also there's like free guided meditations that children can use. So basically I've met many colleagues along the way that are kind of interested in mindfulness and well-being, and this started maybe this website about 4 or 5 years ago, but they weren't feeling very confident to lead a session themselves. So then I thought, well, if I've got little guided meditations on there, they can just press play. They don't have to do anything. They can actually take part in a little meditation as well. So it kind of took that element away from it if people were a bit nervous to start introducing mindfulness and meditation to children. So as the years went on, I started doing more in school, and then sharing things with colleagues, different practices to do with mindfulness meditation. But then actually went to China as part of a KHDA initiative. That's the education authority here. And I met someone who was doing this positive psychology and coaching course. And this for me was just like a massive light bulb moment. And so I joined and did this master's degree. And it actually really highlighted the vast amount of science behind well-being and mental health and flourishing that I don't think is pushed enough in education. So of course there's so many things that are in place for children and staff in terms of like access to counsellors and outside agencies, but quite often there's a reactive element to it. Whereas positive psychology in education actually caters for everyone. So it's not just if you're not having mental health difficulty, then you're fine and you don't need to do anything else. So this whole element of positive psychology in education is the real heart of what Mindful Miss Green Wellbeing is. So then eventually I started to create more resources. Down here at the bottom is the character strength cards that I made. And now I'm just so happy to know they're in like 5 or 6 schools here in Dubai, and also in some schools in Scotland and in Bali. And it's based on positive psychology science, the science of character. And again, what's so fantastic about the character strengths, and you can also visit the VIA character website and you can do the survey to find out the order of your strengths. There's 24 of them. And if you do the survey, it orders them for you, and you might be surprised by what's the top one. It might be no surprise to you, but what's so brilliant about them is you can use resources like the cards and bring the language into the classroom, and it's a language that the parents can use, children can use, and the staff can use. Often children talk about their talents or things they're good at, like maths, but how we need to encourage them to talk about the strengths of character that they have. Like, I'm a leader, I'm a strong leader. I show my strength of love by helping my friend when they're stuck. So it's just such a it's really the crux of positive psychology, but or at the heart of it. But it's a real big fundamental part of how mindful Green Wellbeing kind of started. So that's a continuous journey. I'm planning a set of YouTube videos next month, all based on character strengths, because again, the website is a place where I can put all this information for free access for educators and stuff to try and promote it. Then that kind of evolved into the creative wellbeing cards, which are at the top. And teachers and people in education are so creative in so many ways, but we often express it through things like lessons that we create for the kids, or maybe a display or something like that, or specialist teachers through their craft, like music, different things. But when it comes to our own nurturing, our own creativity, I find from my colleagues and myself that those opportunities are fewer. So creative wellbeing came to me because it's two things I'm so passionate about. We encourage children to be creative, but how often do we give them the time other than art lessons and things like that? Forbes sent an article out in 2019 talking about how future employers' creativity is going to be the #1 skill that they're looking for. So I'm like, okay, where's the sense, in the curriculum? We need to find more space. But obviously, I've been having a fiery passion about wellbeing. I've combined them both to make these creative wellbeing cards. But basically, it's a concept that anyone can lift and include in education. So the cards have like 6 areas, like optimism, growth mindset, mindfulness, and each of the activities on them are just so generic. The children and adults often say, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to draw a thought. But that's the whole point. There's an opportunity for creativity, and you'll never have 2 children or 2 adults do the same thing. So not only are you nurturing your creativity, but you're also then having space to talk about a specific well-being concept, which is something that all of us can do. Like I was mentioning before, it doesn't mean to say you have to do that through difficulty. Also, you can do that when you're at an optimal area of mental health, or you can flourish further by doing things like this.
I love that point, like just like because you mentioned it a couple of times. I think for me, well-being, like yourself, I went through a lot of different things to make me so passionate about it, and like the strategies I had to share with other people. And like, but I like there's like I done MMA fight, and I really follow like the structure of how people get mentally healthy for, or like mentally ready for fights, and how they get themselves ready prepared. And he and this man Israel Adesanya, like one of the MMA fighters, he said like not everyone has mental health issues, but everyone has responsibility to look after their own mental health. And you don't have to be at the bottom of the pit to have to say, oh no, I have to look after my well-being. Actually, it's about looking after yourself whenever you're already in a good space, or whenever you're kind of going through different things. So then you have those tools in your toolkit whenever things do go a bit trickier or do go a bit south. You have those tools built in too. So yeah.
That's it, 100%. And it's, the word flourishing is obviously often used in positive psychology, and it's because on the mental health continuum there is an optimal mental health, but it doesn't mean that things can't be put in place to help you flourish further, because we all want a good life, and I just think, why are we not teaching children these things right from 3? The expectation is a good life, not to experience struggle. So again, that's kind of all those things have led up to being what Mindful Green Wellbeing is, and then including my first children's book here, The Emotions and the Feelings, because another huge thing for me for educators and children is having a safe space and a language to articulate how you feel. So there's lots of resources on my website based on that as well, because if you think about young children, very often they can say, I feel happy, I feel sad, or they throw a tantrum. You know, emotional regulation is a huge part of early child development. But often we meet adults who will bottle things up inside. You know, it's so I think, again, emotional literacy is a massive part of wellbeing education. So again, the children's book is the second one should be out soon, but it's all following these themes. So the next one's based on character strengths, again, because not only do the children definitely need education in all these areas, but adults can be involved in those conversations. And then the last kind of project for Mindfulness Green Wellbeing to support educators and children through this wellbeing journey is this online course that I've created, and it covers each of the things that I've kind of talked about: mindfulness and meditation, character strengths, creative wellbeing. I think there's gratitude, and I can't even remember the last thing. But there's another, and it's just because, again, as a teacher, when I was looking for things, what I found was the master's degree, but not everyone wants to do that or has time. So this course that I've made, again, is another aspect of mindfulness green wellbeing, but it encompasses all of the things that I believe wellbeing education should include, and it should be accessible to everyone. So that's another part of the project there. But overall, in a nutshell, it's basically a go-to place where teachers can come and find tangible resources, dialogue, conversation, things around wellbeing that they can take straight into their classroom and also into their personal practices. So thanks so much for letting me share about it.
So much, and all those resources you've mentioned, we'll put in the resource bank below the sessions that's going out in the online portal, so people can go use those resources. I've put a couple of links into like your actual space, but having those links to the different parts actually we'll put into we'll make sure that goes into the form, so people can access that and can find that too, because I think it's so important. And you asked me to begin with, how did I put all this together while teaching? How did you put all that together while teaching? Like it's such great work and such great takeaways. And like you say, I think that's what I'm passionate about too, is like going through that struggle by yourself. You realize that you don't have to go through it, because there is strategies to, like, there's so much science, like you say, so much practical things to well-being. It's not just, sometimes like even me, sometimes it's like, oh, well-being's airy fairy breathing, that kind of thing, but actually the science behind breathing, the science behind those like things that you're putting in will then help your own well-being. So yeah, really great practical resources that we can share. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And so you can we're going to move on to the next question, sharing about it's so cool, and I think there's so much out there that we can access, like you say, like your website, and now we're going to look at educating lobsters. Like it's like there's so many things out there that is available for us. It's just, how do we get them? Like where are they? What do we find? That's what I'm hoping with Empathetic Educators, is like sharing that voice and sharing those places and putting a common place. Because even me putting this together, I'm like STEM and neuroscience and innovation and like all those different topics that teachers do have to know. Like we do have to know these different things. There's so much out there to even like try and comprehend every day. So yeah, thank you for coming on and sharing those things. So Laura, tell us about your educating lobsters experience, your project, and what you're doing.
I just love listening to Ashley then. I love so much of what you've done. I can't wait to properly explore it. I love the characteristics you've got as well. I think it just links so much to so much of the learning I've done about wellbeing as well recently, which just fills my heart with excitement.
Thank you.
So my blog, it's kind of been a bit of a personal journey really. I started educating lobsters, I think it was about 2 years ago. So I kind of rewind time. So I started teaching, well, I've just finished my 10th year of teaching, which is really exciting. And I think I started off very much like learning that you were either a good teacher or you're a bad teacher. You were either, I think it's coming from my maths background, you're either right or wrong, you're either good or you're bad. And it's that kind of fixed mindset thinking. And I think that I just internalized that, even though I didn't believe it, I think I internalized it quite a lot. So I was working in London as head of maths, and I got the job when I was about 26. And I just started feeling all this sort of stress come over me. And I started creating all these rules in my head, like, to be a good leader, you have to do it like this. To be a good mathematician, you have to do it like this. And I just started making these rules and really judging myself based on them, which was just, it was really, really hard. So I took the decision after doing 3 years there to leave and move out to Singapore, because I was like, I want to kind of just go on a journey and discover what, could things be better? Could I be more balanced? Could I be doing things better for myself? Could I be a better educator and just a better person for my family and my friends? And so I kind of just thought, up and leaving and going and trying a new system, living in a new culture would really be that change that just alleviated me all this stress and this anxiety and all these rules. And for about a year, I think it did. I had this adrenaline rush. I was in a new city, a new school with new pupils, and it was just absolutely amazing. And in that year, I started writing my blog because I thought I just really want to explore what am I going through? What's actually going on? And so I just started my blog as a bit of an experiment. I didn't really think anyone would actually read it. I was teaching NYP, the IB NYP, and I had a pupil who came to my classroom, and one of my projects that I did because I quite like maths being like an open inquiry-based subject. I always felt like this before I taught the NYP anyway. And one of my projects I'd set them was to create an online like presence for Pythagoras, because people have forgotten who he is. So she went away and she made this website and she used Wix, and I was just so impressed. I was like, wow, what is this? I didn't realize you could make a website so easily. So I went off and made myself one, and it just was a personal experiment. I thought I'm going to just start writing about what I'm experiencing. And I think through the writing, I just started to really learn about myself. I know that as a teacher, I was always talking about growth mindset before I even learned about what that was, but I didn't know it for myself. And I think writing about that, I just started to discover that, and I started to kind of like unpeel some of those rules that I'd been making for myself. So I've been writing it for about 2 years now, and I changed schools about a year ago in Singapore, and with that came lots of like change. And I still think that mental health wise, I still kind of had those struggles that were going on for the last sort of 2 years. And I just think my blog has been a really good place, kind of like you said already, to share what are the strategies that have helped me. Because it really felt, I think when I first realized what I was going through, it really felt like diving into a deep tunnel. And, if that's what I'm experiencing as an adult, I really do agree that it should be something we have within education. We talk about it, we educate. What is the neuroscience behind this? What are the strategies? What does the research say? And personally, like through my own personal journey, I started going to counselling. I started learning about like CBT and things like that. And it just, I don't know, I think my blog has just been a place where I could really just share and talk about it. Because I always think that sharing and learning from others, it's those light bulb moments of realizing, oh, this is so normal. So many people go through this. It's so normal to either think you're good or you're bad, but actually humans have this whole roller coaster, this whole spectrum of emotions. And actually, I think starting my blog, it became that kind of safe place to share and open that door. And since doing it, now that the door's open, I've had so many more conversations with people that have, sort of shared back, or I don't know. It just for me, it just became this kind of place to just stay open and really, like, through modelling, kind of just share what I've been going through, but also at the same time, I'm definitely not always right. I'm only right for myself, and really keeping that kind of message going. Like, this is my experience. This is what I've been through. This is what's helped me, but also then celebrating the kind of differences of other people as well through just sharing and connecting those ideas. So it's just been a bit of an experiment, really. Quite a fun one as well. But yeah, I think the next steps is I would quite like start writing for pupils and writing blogs for pupils and kind of strategies for pupils. But definitely I need to go on a bit more of a research journey before I start doing that.
And I think that's what I go with both the angles, like, because like Ash said at the very start, was like, it's not well-being for learners or well-being for adults or well-being for, like, it's like everyone has well-being and everyone has like different things that they go through. I think what I like about why we connected on the social media space is because we had common interests, but also I like the way your blog was a personal reflection, because that's why I like about blogging. And sometimes I'm having a really, really tough week and I'm like, oh my gosh, and then I like get my own thoughts out of my own head, and then I can like go back sometimes and be like, oh, I was feeling that, but I'm so not in that space anymore. Or sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm definitely back in that space again. What did I do again whenever I was in that space? Like, it's like that little personal journey that like they said about Dear Diary, or like blogging, or like recording yourself, or like it's like little strategies for our own selves to then become more present for the people that we're with as well around us too. So yeah.
It's been such a good reflection tool as well, like reading stuff I've written sort of 2 years ago, and how much learning I've made, how much growth there's been, and just, I don't know, it's just been really interesting. But also you're right in a sense that like it's just so therapeutic to write about like what has helped you, what's been amazing. And I had a bit of a meltdown a couple of weeks ago because I'd forgotten to renew my domain name. So I tried to reread one of my blogs. I was having a tricky week and I was trying to read. I was like, what did I say in that blog? I really need those tips right now for myself. And I couldn't get into the site, and I was like,
no.
Goodness.
Did you get it back?
Yeah, all sorted.
Okay, that's good. But I think what I also really liked about you saying, like, making these rules and judging myself based on them, that's so true. That's like, who is telling you to think that you have to be this certain way, except for like the thing, like the rule, either the system that you kind of grown up with a little bit, or the actual rules that you said that you need to do. And once we unlock like the jail that we've put ourselves into, like sometimes that's what happens. It's such a good point.
And I think I really found, like, looking back on my earlier experiences in education, I really found that, you know, these little messages I was getting from teachers that I admired, I was like, okay, so behavior in my room is always my problem, and if it goes wrong, it's all on me. I was internalizing all these messages, but actually it wasn't really the message these teachers were saying, or these inspirational educators were saying. And I thought, I really just want to normalize that we don't all know what we're doing exactly. We're all trying our best, and it's completely okay to be wrong, to be vulnerable, to be yourself, but also be different. Because I think I have experience within like maths education as well. There's a lot of sort of, you know, I'm right, you're wrong. There's a lot of division sometimes, I think, as mathematicians, because, you know, it's just been one of those subjects that can sometimes be divide and conquer, which I just don't agree with. I want it to be like, we all see this differently, we can all come together. So I just see maths and wellbeing as this really intertwined thing now. So.
That's what's so cool is like both your journeys, so like actually sharing about creativity and well-being, like math and well-being, like it's so beautiful to have all those different perspectives and see like, okay, what does it mean for me? And like well-being does mean something different, and like it can be open, and it can be, some people really practice full-on meditation, some people practice journaling, some people practice all those different things, but it's whatever it works like for you. But just being aware of it, that's why I love the thing of not everyone suffers mental illness, but everyone has to look after their own mental health. And that's the part, is like, what are you doing to look after your mental health so that you have tools in your toolkit? That's the part, is like the tools in the toolkit, so that if you do have those challenging times, then like I know now if I need to reach out. Mine's a connection, so I know that whenever I'm going through something, I need to connect with someone to like get a different perspective, and then that helps me bring me right back up again. So it's, yeah, but like you say, it's the process. Both of you sharing on your blogs, that process of going through it is so, because sometimes we can look and be like, wow, that was amazing, like that person mustn't have any troubles, but actually that's not true. And I think like that's what I'm trying to share more in my blog and more in my like spaces, even when I'm doing this and trying to share, look, that was the down day, that was the up day, before I was like creating it, because I think that's why like every day is different, and every day is can be good or bad. And sometimes like you can go from being amazing to like not so good inside like 30 seconds too. So like it's all different feelings. Yeah.
I think I early on internalized the idea that like teachers always have to be like energetic, on point, they always have to be okay. And actually then that can then stop you from embracing that roller coaster. Like, it is actually okay that we go into school and we're humans. You know, we've had it's absolutely fine. I had, like, last year, I think it was like towards the end of COVID, and I remember I was having a bad day. One of my year 11 said to me, Miss Staple, it's like, it's absolutely fine for you to be upset, because good teachers, they care. That's not. And I was just like, I don't know why, but I just really think normalizing this humanity in teaching is so important. So important.
I think go ahead, Ashley.
Sorry, Naomi. I was just going to say, sometimes we give so much weight to what other people say, especially early career teachers. Like, I remember somebody telling me that I wasn't energetic enough, but actually, like, my quietness and everything is my strength. You know, that's now what I see, is I so enjoy having a quiet space for the children and engaging them through meditation and things. But that stuck with me for so long, thinking, gosh, I'm not cut out for teaching because I'm not all singing, all dancing. So it's listening to our own inner self, I think, is a huge thing for teachers.
Such a big part. I think that's what Adam Hill said. There's there's a lot of division in maths. What a great quote. I think I'm a bit like that's hilarious. That was a good quote, actually. And he said as well, like, so many great points as a blogger. It resonates with me so much. It's like people can be like, and I think it can be different parts. So I can be like really energetic in my sessions, but then I can be like really, really like introverted in my reflections, you know. And it's all different things and all different like ways of like, but it's getting to know you. And I think it goes back to what you were saying at the very start, is like there's science behind well-being and there's science behind ourselves, and like the more we get to know each other. In like the last session with Adam and like and Fiona, we were talking about like getting to know you as a teacher, as well as like that exploration of like yourself as a learner too. And that, like, yeah, it's such big, great takeaways. It says, Celeste says, Laura, that was awesome. Embracing the roller coaster. We definitely have ups and downs, and thank you. And like, yeah, so really great takeaways from both the different sessions as well. So yeah, I think at the very end of the session, we're just like sharing little takeaways, like one little soundbite and one little thing that you would share in your community that you think is really important. I think we talked about lots of different things and lots of different areas, but what's one thing that's stuck out for you, either a piece of research or a tip or a trick or something that you've just understood for yourself to like, yeah, as one of our takeaways?
I think mine would always be you. It's okay to be you. Because I just think that, well, just from my experiences, I think I try to mold and become, you know, an educator like this or like this, and actually, you know, be you, but also be okay to change, because we're going to go through this huge journey as an educator. As you learn more, you're going to keep updating and keep embracing new parts. But remember, it is okay to be you, and it's okay to be different. But that also means that other teachers' differences are absolutely awesome too, and should definitely be celebrated too.
Beautiful. And Ashley, what do you think?
It's kind of similar to Laura's, I'd say. I think when Laura's saying it's okay to be you, I think it makes me think as well of it's okay to feel how you feel. You know, quite often in teaching as well, but in all aspects of life, you almost try and kind of push away the negative feelings instead of facing them on. And actually, they say that they aren't negative feelings. You know, it might not be a nice place to sit for a while, but sit there, feel what it is, and then you can move on and more freely. So I would just say always, you know, acknowledge your feelings and accept them and find a way to move on from there, rather than just pushing them away and pretending they're not there.
And I think it's so important because, like we talked about, like we've all had different paths to get us onto like this journey of neuroscience. But like I wouldn't actually change anything that happened. Like and like whenever I was in those spaces, whenever I was like dark and I was like, I don't get what's going on. But I think for me, I wouldn't change it because of it's like got put me here. Like it's like, and then like you say, sitting with it, understanding it, trying to understand what's going on, like what's going on with me, and why am I in this space? And the more I looked internally, the more it helped me actually look outwardly towards what I was doing. So I totally agree. It's like, it's hard and it's tricky and it's not a nice place to be, and you want to obviously get out of it, but actually what's going on to make you in that space and looking inward is so important.
Well, that's it, because the nicest thing I always think about a picture in my head is you can't have light without darkness, you know. So it's like once you light the candle, it just becomes a wee bit brighter. So it's always a nice visual.
Well, that goes back to our flame. That's why we have our flame going on. That's why I love. It's like the flames going through. It's like we're lighting a little bit of our little pockets in the world to like be able to lighten the whole world up. So yeah, totally love it.
It really makes me think of some of the tips I kind of like just learned along the way. Was that I started seeing a counsellor, and she was talking about giving yourself worry time. So, you know, in the school day, you find yourself really suppressing, like, I've got to be okay, I've got to go out on duty, I've got to put my face on, I've got to be like, you know, happy, Miss Staple, whatever. Go and give yourself that worry time. So I'd often just pop somewhere quiet, normally the spare toilet in the staff toilet, lock the door and just be like, okay, brain, what are you worrying about? And just let them flow. And I think that I find that so helpful, because I was just suppressing them throughout the day. And I'd come home from work and I'd try and go to sleep, and it would just be like, everything, because I hadn't let it out in the daytime. I'd been like this vigilant teacher that was like, okay, you've got to be okay, you've got to be like really excitable, happy. And it's just, that's been so helpful, so helpful.
I think it goes
Also,
back to the self-regulation part of it. Like, it just like that's we're teaching learners to self-regulate. And I'm kind of saying, like, mine was actually I was getting migraines in my first year because I wasn't breathing. Like that was actually just wasn't breathing. So like I was getting migraines all the time. And so now, like, 'cause I went to the doctor and she was like, you're not breathing, just breathe properly. I was like, well, that's not a strategy. What's going on for me? I need to know why I'm not breathing or what's going on. But she was right in that sense of like. And now I actually, like, same as you, I kind of make sure I'm checking in and like, oh, is something going on for me? I'm breathing more. And like, it does sound a bit fluffy, but it goes back to the science behind it. If we're not breathing, if we're not doing those things, then that's going to end up having those negative impacts too. Sorry, Ashley, you were going to say something, but I really...
It's very similar to what you've said there. Like during the day, sometimes I'll go into my cupboard in the classroom, you know, and put on like a 3-minute breathing space, and I'll just listen to it for 3 minutes. Obviously, the children are being looked after by someone else, small children, but I'll have those 3 minutes because if you think about even if you do that with the little kids, you do a bit of meditation, you let them lie down. As adults, we never get to lie down during the day, but you can go and breathe for 3 minutes, and it just shifts like your whole space that you're in, shifts your energy. So I would definitely say on the apps and YouTube, you can do that.
I'm just picturing now, like, you're in Dubai, you're in Singapore, and I'm in Japan, and we're probably like, I'm like, I wonder how teachers around the world are like in cupboards, like breathing and like, all across the world. So it's like hashtag breathing space for teachers or something, like all of us in our little bubbles. Like it's
But then that's so interesting. So many of us are in the same, doing the same thing, you know, because it's needed. It just shows you how, you know, that they don't teach you that in teacher training, that at some point you'll have to go into your cupboard to either cry or breathe. So
and that's okay. Like it's, I guess, just like we're saying about like those things are okay, and like it doesn't mean you're going to run like that's okay. Then you can have a little regulation part, and then you go back into their kids again as well. So it's just, and the more you do it, the more you're like, oh, that's normal. It's just like that's the way I'm feeling because we're caring so much and we're giving so much and we're giving so much away to like, and that's okay to like feel those feelings as well too. So no, thank you so much, girls. Thank you so much for coming on. So many strategies, so many takeaways. So we will be adding it. I'll just put up the link again onto the for the online portal, but we will be adding all the resources onto there through the form that we put in. So it'll on bit.ly/EEConquest 2021. It'll be under the portal, it'll be under like the session for this. And I have put in some of those already in there. But if you are listening and you are part of the audience, it's not just actually the audience member, it's not just the guests who are coming on that can contribute to that. There's actually a form on the page too. So you can go on and you can let us know about all the wonderful things that you do with neuroscience as well. And so just a little, again, we're talking about mental health and keeping ourselves mentally healthy. That's what Youthline is all about. And in New Zealand, I really have enjoyed being like trained to be a youth counsellor with them because it's really, really great, powerful things and strategies going away. So if you can donate, like I said, bit.ly/EE Youthline, or if you can't donate, then just share it with your community so that we can get more people knowing about it too. So if you enjoyed the session or if you enjoyed any of the sessions before, we've got lots more exciting things coming up from Empathetic Educators in the near future. So you can subscribe and don't miss any of the information that we'll be sharing as well. So our next session coming up is going to be in about 5 or so minutes time. And it'll be called, the future of education in New Zealand, we're going to be talking about, which is cool. So bit.ly/EEConquest 12. There's lots of great takeaways going on about curriculum and setting up systems to support that too. So again, thank you so much, girls, for coming on and letting us know all about the wonderful things that's going on. And the chat, thank you so much for being part of it. Like Ken says, thank you for sharing strategies. And Celeste, that's hilarious. 3 minute in the cabinet is a normal thing to be on the floor with the floor as we come home. So yeah, so beautiful. So thank you so much for joining in. And I'm gonna take a photograph of us. So yeah, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. My mom actually, I've just seen there's a message said cupboard training. That's hilarious. My mom was messaging me too saying that's so funny. So, hi mom. So yeah, thank you so much. And Adam said thank you so much for a great session too. So yeah.
Thanks so much for having us. It's been so nice to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll see you later. Bye team.
Bye.